What's up, y'all? I am Miss Megan Liana, and welcome back to Be Fucking For Real, the home of unfiltered takes and unapologetic truths. I am Miss Megan Liana, and this is our Sunday sound off, and we got a lot to sound off about, okay? But first things first, before I get this show started, I have to take the time to say rest in peace to Assata Shakur. She was a revolutionary. She was a political prisoner. She passed away at the age of 78 with her freedom in Cuba. She started as a member of the Black Panther Party, but she transitioned to the Black Liberation Army. In 1973, she was convicted of murder of a New Jersey state trooper that had her and a couple of members of the Black Liberation Party were in a shootout with, and he ended up passing away. In that shootout, Assata was shot and injured. She was sentenced to life in prison plus 33 years. And in 1979, she escaped prison, and she has been she was self-exiled to Cuba. Fidel Castro granted her asylum, and that's where she's been. And in 2013, she was moved to the FBI's most wanted list. Um, she was a political activist. She fought for Black liberation, um, and she was criminalized. She was criminalized for it. And I I was doing some research, and I found this quote on her website, one of her letters that she wrote. And I really wanted to start the show with sharing this because I think it still applies to what we're seeing today and a huge theme of the topics on our show. She says, and this is on asatashakur.org. This is on her website. She says, the news is big business, and it is owned, operated by affluent white men. Unfortunately, they shape the way that many people see the world and even the way people see themselves. Too often, Black journalists and other journalists of color mimic their white counterparts. They often gear their reports to reflect the foreign policies and the domestic policies of the same people who are oppressing their people. In the establishment media, the bombing and the murder of thousands of innocent women and children in Libya or Iraq or Panama is seen as patriotic, while those who fight for freedom, no matter where they are seen as radicals, extremists, or terrorists. Like most poor and oppressed people in the United States, I do not have a voice. Black people, poor people in the US, have no real freedom of speech, no real freedom of expression, and very little freedom of the press. The Black press and the progressive media has historically played an essential role in the struggle of social justice. We need to continue and to expand the tradition. We need to create media outlets that help to educate our people and our children and not annihilate their minds. I am only one woman. I own no TV stations or radio stations or newspapers. But I feel that people need to be educated as to what is going on and to understand the connection between the news media and the instruments of repression in America. All I have is my voice, my spirit, and the will to tell the truth. And with that, I say power to the people, Miss Assata Shakur. Thank you for what you did. And may you continue to rest in revolutionary peace. And that brings me to our first story, which is in line with what this quote that I just shared from her. There was a new executive order that was passed that has redefined domestic terrorism and political violence. And it's really important that we pay attention to what this new executive order deems political violence and terrorism. Okay, so anything that seems to be of anti-fascism, anti-Christianity, anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, extremism extremism on immigration, race, and gender, hostility towards those who hold traditional American values, anyone who supports to overthrow the US government, anyone who allow this allows the Joint Terrorism Task Force to investigate acts of recruiting and radicalizing people. Anybody who is sponsoring or funding groups like that that fight these things, or funding protests that are led by these groups. Also, it criminalizes doxing. It criminalizes rioting, looting, disorder, and other acts of protest. And here's the thing, right? I want to make it clear, the only time I ever saw people in my almost 40 years of living is when I saw the people of January 6th literally trying to storm the Capitol and unalive elected officials. um I've never seen people other than that situation ever try to overthrow government, right? And the way that this has been worded is, it's kind of like if you agree to certain ideologies that are against the current presidential regime or against that political party, it's basically calling you a terrorist. And it's important to note that um, the Department of Justice finding in the report that classified white males as a threat for domestic terrorism, that was deleted off the Department of Justice website. And that was deleted, and this executive order was passed. But when you also look at what is happening in current states that are ran by Democratic governors or mayors, this is a way to legally surveil and prosecute people who do not support Trump. And think about all of the current protests that we see, and not even the protests that we see, because there are always protests that are going on, right? There are continuous No Kings protests. There are continuous anti-ICE, anti-immigration protests that are continuously happening. They are not shown on the media right now, and they're not really shown on social media because they're suppressed. The view to be able to see some of that stuff is suppressed right now, but it doesn't mean they're not happening. And when you have a lot of people that are currently protesting this regime that's in power, and then he makes it legal for the people that are protesting to be classified or called domestic terrorists, what a time to be alive. That shit's scary as fuck. And protesters, when you think of how the Black Lives Matter protesters were referred to, or all the any protests, you always see people call them, oh, these thugs, these rioters, these looters. But it's always so funny when people say that, because without the havoc of the Boston Tea Party, America wouldn't even exist. There has always been some form of unrest that occurs in protest. It's a casualty of protest. Things are gonna get broken. Things are gonna happen. But they're not rioters and they're not looters. Now, are there people that loot and riot? Yeah, but they do that when their fucking favorite team wins the Super Bowl or soccer or baseball or something like that. So, but it's important to remember protesters are continuously referred to as rioters and looters. And a lot of the things that is mentioned in this executive order, they were committed by far right extremists. Like, I will never forget, and I don't know if you guys had watched it, but when there was the investigation of January 6th protesters, and when it was the congressional investigation, or when they, when they testify in front of Congress, and they put out all their evidence and all that other shit. I remember when the evidence came out about all the secret chats and stuff like that. I remember when there was somebody that infiltrated the Proud Boys, and they had their secret text apps. They have their covert shit that they use to communicate with each other, and they were able, all of these far right groups, all of these actual white Caucasian terrorist groups, they're doing these covert operations. When you think of like Black Lives Matter protesters and shit like that, and I want to make it very clear, I am pro Black Lives Matter. I am anti Black Lives Matter organization, because those are two different things. And one day I'm going to do a deep dive on what actually happened with the Black Lives Matter Foundation and how they fucked up the movement and fucked up the name. But part of the issue I feel that's happened when it comes to protests now, when people are protesting for rights, or when they're anti-conservative or anti-racist protests, like anything that's anti-right, there's a level of public organization that diminishes what they're trying to do. It diminishes the movement. Why? Because they put everything online and they want a fucking crowd about it. Versus these are the other groups move in silence. But even when it comes to wanting to go after the funders, right? So you have to remember, like, most of these groups are nonprofit organizations. Most of these groups are 501c3, tax-free. Even if it's not a 501c3, it's some sort of tax-free organization or group. So even when it came to that, the people that were building that all-white town, that was formed as a social club. So social clubs are still nonprofits. And so because they're nonprofits, it's public information. The funding, the records, depending on how it's formed, even if you can't trace the actual funder, there's still a way to follow the money trail because of the members and certain things that have to get reported via the taxes. So it's like, you may not be able to report every donor, but it's not too hard to follow the money. And what he just made it legal to do is to kind of like surveil and follow the money. This executive order made free speech, to free speech that disagrees with this regime, it's making it illegal. And the crazy thing is that COINTELPRO, and if you don't know what COINTELPRO is, that was the FBI investigation that was fronted by J. Edgar Hoover, which was actually why he created the FBI movement. COINTELPRO was the covert and targeted investigation of Black civil rights leaders and movements. And COINTELPRO was covert, and they secretly dismantled all those organizations. Now they're not even dismantling shit covertly anymore. They're doing it openly with executive orders. And it's time to really like pay attention to shit like this, because think about how Jimmy Kimmel's show was canceled last week and then it was brought back, right? Because of the financial protests to the networks. And just think of if Jimmy Kimmel or some of these people continue to talk about, because which they will, people are going to keep talking about Donald Trump. But if they make a joke that's anti-American or anti-capitalism or anti-faces, like there's such this gray area with this new executive order. And when things are vague, that leads to interpretation based on every case. And when we have a corrupt judicial system, these are things where it's like, okay, sound the alarm, but don't. Like, this is shit that you actually need to take serious. And I would say protest it, but what the fuck is protesting it gonna do? I'm tired of the wasteful protesting. Some of the wasteful protesting I am tired of is some of these Free Palestine protesters. So, and I'm specifically talking about the ones that chose to go to Kamala Harris's book signing just to protest some shit that she's not even responsible for. So let's check out this video from protest this week.
Shut up!
They came to her book. Paid to go to her book tour to hear her speak, just to cause a ruckus.
I actually also write about this, okay? Which is about what I know about how and why you are saying what you are saying now and how I felt about it. You're not letting me talk. You know what? I respect your right to speak, but you're not letting me speak. Down, unlike the current president of the United States. What's happening right now in Gaza, what is happening to the Palestinian people is outrageous and it breaks my heart.
So here's the thing. Why does she even have to explain this shit? I think that for one, this is misplaced rage. Like, Kamala Harris was not the president. She was the vice president. It's easier to go to a Kamala Harris book tour and disrupt that than go to a Trump rally. because they know a Kamala Harris book tour event is much safer than a Trump rally. It's so much easier to say, "Oh, you committed a genocide." No, she didn't. Israel is committing the genocide. And shout out to Tia. She said she needed to keep it real and say, y'all wanted this. And that's exactly the point I was getting to, Tia, because let's not forget everybody who was pro-Palestine and that whole pro-Palestine movement is exactly why she lost the election. They were the ones, never Kamala. They were the ones that were very, oh, if you vote for her, don't come to my you're not welcome in my community. They were the ones that said vote for Jill Stein or vote for Trump, but don't vote for Kamala because she's pro-genocide. They got exactly what the fuck they wanted. Y'all didn't want her as a president. And the problem was, I remember when she campaigned and she was very pro, let's end it, let's bring home the hostages and end the war. Y'all free Palestine, pro-Palestine people were so hell-bent on not seeing a black woman. Because let's be real, let's be fucking for real. It was the fact that it was a black woman winning for president. Y'all didn't want to see her president. So it's easy to say, oh, well, you were responsible for it. But the thing is that she's a private citizen now. She's a private fucking citizen. What can she do? What is going to a Kamala Harris book tour event, paying for the ticket at that? You put money in her pocket just to go there and get escorted out? And where is Jill Stein? Everybody that was so pro-Palestine was pro-Jill Stein. Jill Stein ain't said shit about this. Jill Stein is living her private citizen life. She got her money. She is a private citizen. Whoop-de-doo. Exactly. This is not Kamala's responsibility. And if you voted third party, if you voted to not have her in office, I don't understand what people expect her to do right now. I don't understand how a group of people, there is a specific group of people that were very, very adamant in making sure no one voted for Kamala Harris because they were voting for genocide. And no one is holding Trump accountable for what he said. Trump promised to protect the Palestinian people. There were the Muslims for Trump, and he went and he campaigned with them, and he promised to protect them and help end the war. And as soon as he got elected, he has served Palestine to Netanyahu on a silver fucking platter. He is pushing to have Palestine completely flattened so that way he could turn the Gaza Strip into a Trump travel destination. She's not the problem. She's not the problem. She's not in power. There is literally nothing she could do. And my issue now is I feel like they never had the plot, but the Free Palestine liberals that are still standing on this soapbox, I feel have completely lost the fucking plot. Because what was the point of this? I don't think there are clear demands. I don't think that there is a distinct end goal, because you can't have an end goal for your protest if you're protesting somebody that has completely nothing to do with what you're talking with making change for your issue. It would be so easy to go to a Trump rally because he still has rallies. He's still speaking in public. There's a lot more shit that could be done against the current administration if they really wanted to. But the safe space is going to a Kamala Harris book tour event to protest her there. When y'all got what y'all wanted, she is not president. Y'all won. So if we're gonna go off of like when you have goals for things when you are protesting stuff, one of the goals was to make sure Kamala Harris did not become the 47th president of the United States. Whoop-de-doo, y'all got that shit. So what is next? Because there is still a lot of congressional support of Israel. And it's a big part of the money that gets approved to go to Israel to still fund this war. I don't see any of these people that are pro-Palestine at any of these congressional town halls. Because when it comes to the left or right, there are a lot of pro-Israel congressional candidates that are always going to vote for this shit and that are always going to keep it going. So at what point do you stop criticizing people that have no power and then take it to the people that actually can do it, can do something? But the problem is y'all don't want to really protest. Y'all just want to run y'all mouth on the soapbox in a safe space. And America is currently losing our own freedoms. And I would love to see people that are so pro-Palestine, that hate this, that really do not like what this country stands for. I would love to see them protest for American freedom, but that would get too dirty. That would get too unsafe. And that is why it's easier to go talk shit at a Kamala Harris rally. And what the fuck are we doing? I think that she should have went a little bit harder, because you can still, it's like you can keep it classy or you can keep it real and they still gonna have something to say. Prime example, Laura Loomer had the fucking audacity to call Jasmine Crockett a ghetto black bitch. Let me make this shit bigger so it could be seen really what the fuck she said. It hurts my heart that we have ghetto black bitches who hate America serving in Congress. And here's my thing, right? With bitches like Laura Loomer, it's like you can't win either way. So it's like you could slap, it's like you slap a bitch like that, you could go to jail and it's probably worth it because you know she gonna press charges. But you also know that trying to reason with her isn't going to make any sense. And Tia said black women have to be the scapegoat and the savior, make it make sense. Exactly. And then even when we're one or the other, we're still going to get talked about regardless. Because there is no reason why Jasmine Crockett is being referred to as a ghetto black bitch. But make no mistake, when Kamala Harris would code switch and she would, talk proper in one setting, and then when she's around, her people and she lets loose, then it's like, oh, she's fake. She's not really about that. And it's like, black women cannot win. We have women like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert who get to say whatever bullshit ass rhetoric, ignorant rhetoric that comes out of their mouth. And they're not called white trash for it. They're just called stupid or ignorant because that's what they are. Jasmine Crockett is actually very fucking educated. She has served as a public defender. She has served as a civil rights attorney. She is the youngest black lawmaker in Texas for the 87th legislative session. If she did talk proper, she would just be, oh, she's trying to be white. Because let's be real, when black women do speak, when black people do speak in a certain tone, or they try to, when they do talk more proper or using a different vernacular other than AAVE, then they're told they're trying to be white. Or it's like, oh, why you talk like that? We can't really win if we're being fucking for real about it. But I think what people hate the most about Jasmine Crockett is that she doesn't code switch. She's comfortable in who she is as a Black woman. And I think that's what scares people the most, is that she's not afraid to be herself in front of all those white people, in front of America, in front of all these dignified motherfuckers that are going to judge her either way. And I think that they hate the fact that this Black woman is so comfortable in her skin and is so comfortable representing herself, representing her constituents, because she has been elected multiple times and was voted in by her constituents. They hate to see a Black woman that's comfortable and not conforming. I think that, for one, AAVE is not ghetto. I remember when they tried to call it Ebonics. Whatever the fuck it is, however you choose to talk does not make you ghetto. And I'm tired of people classifying Blackness a certain way as ghetto just to degrade it. Number one. Number two, we have a fucking president that can't even pronounce acetaminophen. Probably can't even say it 3 times in a row. He can barely fucking read, let alone follow a teleprompter or his speech. And the problem is, like, bitches like Laura Loomer, who also, then when she wanted to keep clapping back, she was, why these bitches be trifling? Girl, if you finna play with me, you best be ready for the truth I be spitting on your weave. I can spit mad bars, Jasmine. Baby girl don't like the taste of her own medicine. You feels me? And then she tags her. And the thing is, like I said, you can't slap a bitch. Like, even though you want to slap a bitch like that. I've come across white women like that. And all you could do is kind of laugh, because at that at that point, their only goal is to continue to try to just piss you off. And Black women, because Laura Luma does look a mess. So on TikTok and on Threads, like, she was getting dragged for her looks by Black women, but white women like her, it's not even about the looks. Like, first of all, you could look at her face and look at the work done and know that she knows she's unattractive and know that she's been unattractive. However, it has nothing to do with the physical appearance. Everything with a person like that is to troll to get a reaction and to hope that the reaction is violent or ignorant. And when it comes to a person like that, sometimes you have to just really be quiet and let them have it. You know what I'm saying? Because going back and forth is counterproductive. And she's the type of person where it's like, her provocation is better to ignore, because it's like, you can't win a war of words with that level of ignorance, especially online and on the internet. Now, in person, it's very different. However, online, you never know. And a prime example of what happens when things go from online to in person was this week at Tennessee State University. There were these guys, right? These These kids. They went to Texas State University to attempt to, no, I'm sorry, Tennessee State University, TSU, Tennessee State. And they went to attempt to debate. Now, what they say, or what they said, was that they did not know it was an HBCU, an historical Black college university. However, they fucked around and they found out, because they got chased off that goddamn campus, as they should. And I'm gonna play the video. I have it muted so you can't really hear it, just so we can see the chaos. But I could keep talking. And they didn't use violence to get them out of there, which I think, one, is great, because these are people like, these are the same people like Laura Loomer. They want to see you react a certain way. They want to see you get mad, get angry, and they want to use that as an excuse to call the cops. They want to use that as an excuse to say, oh, look what they did to me, and all I was trying to do was just talk to them, knowing that what they're saying is provoking. Going to an all-Black college saying DEI should be illegal. First of all, it's a Black fucking college. Clearly, they're making their own way. So they're not looking for DEI. Number one. Number two, fuck these college campus rage baiting debates. That is the shit that guy Charlie Kirk was doing. That is what these unfuck America college or early 30 liberals are doing. Everybody wants to go to colleges and debate, and they're counterproductive. They are literally rage baiting. And one of the first videos I did when I started this show was, I said, I am no longer debating about politics. I am not here to change anybody's fucking mind about whatever you believe at this point, because there is a side. And if you are on that side of the conservatives, if you are on the side of racism, if you are on the side that all this shit that is currently happening is okay, I don't give a fuck to hear what you think, and I don't give a fuck to change your opinion. I genuinely think that social media has made this environment of where everybody thinks that their opinion matters, and everybody thinks that what they say, whether it's ill-informed, whether it's misinformed, whether it's fucking conspiracy theories, whatever it is, whether it's rage baiting, everybody wants to stand on their soapbox and say what they have to say, and they're not contributing to moving anything forward. These kids right here that are going to these college campuses are rage baiting, and all they really want is to be an agent of chaos. They were on shout out to them students for kicking them the fuck off their campus in 10 minutes. Because that's what we got to start doing. Get them the fuck out of our spaces. I see videos all the time of people that go somewhere. One time there was a person that went to a gay bar with a MAGA hat on. Another time a person went to this white part. It was a white person at a Black party, and they just wanted to wear that fucking MAGA hat. And it's like, keep ignoring them or get them the fuck out. But disengage, because you cannot change these people's mind. And the fact is, they don't want to change their mind, and they don't give a damn about your opinion. They literally just need a platform for their extremism, and they need it to spread their hateful rhetorics and their misinformation. And it's like, when you engage with somebody, I remember my mama used to always tell me, because I'm a Capricorn and I always got to be right. And when I was younger, my mama used to always tell me, if you argue with a fool, what that make you? And I think we have to get to the point where we don't argue or debate with these people. We send them on their way. Fuck them, fuck their opinions. Whatever they think is what they think. To me, we're in a space where there's too much debates and not enough action. Everybody just wants to fucking talk. Everybody wants to talk. And because everybody wants to talk and everybody wants to debate and just spread shit, that's exactly why this new executive order got passed. Because now they're trying to shut people the fuck up. But they're trying to shut people up that disagree with them. And the far right is winning the conversation. They've won the conversation because they have completely changed the landscape of America right now. Like when we see somebody that spreads hateful rhetoric become a martyr in front of our eyes, where the media and everybody completely, what's the word? I don't even want to say whitewash, because you can't whitewash someone who spreads white nationalist rhetoric, but the I'll say nice washed. I'll say nice washed to completely change someone's narrative of things that they express publicly and to make them a symbol, and to see so many people fucking, I don't want to say worship, but you can feel compassion and empathy without and still hold people accountable for their actions and their words. And when we reach a point where people choose not to do that anymore, like, we've completely gone to another side. And there was a video that came out today. So Amanda Seals, she had this to say about Donald Trump.
You know what's a truth that y'all don't want to hear? Trump is a revolutionary. Let you sit with that for a second. Because a lot of y'all think revolutionary is only for positive change. If you think that revolution only comes in a package of progress for the people, you are incorrect. Ultimately, revolution is overthrow in favor of an alternative government. That is revolution. So if you study the method that they have deployed in order to do as such, then you need to ask yourself, why haven't the people that we have empowered done the same?
She's right. She is right. And I said, when old boy passed away and I was seeing people's reaction, I was like, this is the first time I have ever seen someone of hate become a martyr. And we've always recognized Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, even the fucking Black Panther Party. Like, these were people that were fighting for civil rights. And for once, we're seeing people fight extreme for anti-rights, and they're winning. And she's right. And we're seeing it in real time. And it's like, what makes a revolution, right? Because one thing she brought up is that, well, holding our leaders accountable, we have no fucking leaders. We have no leaders. We have no leadership. Tia said, Amanda been losing me lately. Me too. I ain't gonna lie. Me too. There's a lot of shit that she has said where I be like, yo, I kind of just like, I don't really like a lot of her points. I'm gonna be completely honest. Because I feel Amanda Seales could be actually doing more. Like, I feel like Amanda Seales could actually be that radical revolutionary, but I feel like she just talks more. And I feel like if I saw more action from her, I could take a lot of the things that she says seriously, because sometimes I'll be feeling like, girl, what are you talking about? But this is like one of those truths where I'm like, yo, she's right. And if, like she said, well, she brought up like our leaders, we have no leaders. When it comes to people fighting for civil rights, there's nobody fighting for civil rights. The revolution was televised and that shit was squashed, and the revolution has not been revived since. And conservatives were plotting and planning, and they figured out how to legally flip everything the last fucking 40, 50 years. And there's this term, right, where they're always like the radical left, the radical left, the radical left. I had to like look up the definition of radical, because I'm like, okay, what does the radical left, what the fuck does that really mean? And let's go with, like, there's a few definitions, but a person who advocates thorough or complete political or system reform, a member of a political party or of part of a party pursuing such aims. Ain't nothing radical about the left. The left ain't been radical in a minute. The only thing that was radical about the left was what? Trans issues, trans rights, gay rights. Like, and I'm just, if we're gonna look at like the definition of radical, the left ain't been radical in forever. And honestly, they're pretty fucking polite. I feel like there is no radical leading the system, trying to lead the system for change. You know, the far rights are the real radical revolutionaries, and these far right radical revolutionaries are in power right now. They have mastered the narrative. They have gained popularity among, I don't want to say like almost half of the country. If not half, let's say 35, 40%. You know what? I'll give them 40%, 40%, 35, 35, 40. They have so much control right now. They have literally made it illegal with an executive order to call them out on their shit. There is military in Los Angeles. There is military in Washington, D.C. There is military in Chicago. There is now military in Portland and soon to be Memphis. The military is on the ground to go against citizens. If these groups, right, like if there was, and I always go back to this, right, like I remember when it was one of Trump's generals where Trump wanted, during the 2020 George Floyd protests, Trump wanted the military to shoot protesters, and they did not go, they went against that order. Right now, he has people that are taking loyalty tests to not go against him or his orders. That's a tongue twister. I'm not with like the fear mongering, but I feel like we're seeing things happen legally that are being made into law that we never saw before in our lifetime. And because if you're a millennial, we came we have reaped the benefits of all of the civil rights that occurred. We are the ones that got to reap the benefits of affirmative action, the civil rights movement. Those positive changes, we reap the benefits. And now we're seeing all those benefits get rolled back with Supreme Court cases and with executive orders. Now, yeah, the next president could come in and do what our current president did and completely void all of the executive orders of the previous president. But that's if we even get to have another election. Even when you look at all of the current gerrymandering that's happening in states, like there is so much, there is like it's beyond just like a power grab right now. Like there's a power grab, but in addition to the power grab, there's like a future seize of power. And I really do believe, though, if we began to organize like groups like the Proud Boys, I think we'd see more action in activism because everything wouldn't be for show. I think that right now, what we need is bigger than protests and bigger than debates, because there's going to be a tipping point. And I say this all the time, like there's going to be this point where people will have to choose a side. And the thing is, people are already seeing that they need to choose a side because, again, we are seeing that people that voted for this, as it's impacting them, then they're seeing the error in their vote. But the change from within method, it can't work without structure and an approach that can upend all the change. So it's like, at one point, I think that Black people, our goal was to California vote yes on 50. Yes, y'all. We got hold the line. Hold the line. But it's sad that California has to pass these laws. And see, that's another thing. Gavin Newsom want to do shit the right way. These motherfucking Republicans, they just did the shit. He making California hold the vote. And that's what I'm saying with radical lefts ain't even radical. They polite. They try to do shit with a vote. They still doing shit the right way, which is great. But again, that goes to change from within, like that change from within method. How does it work if everything is being corrupted and changed within that same system? And the executive branch has completely reshaped our country and our civil rights progress right now. We have a Congress that is enabling, and the judicial branch is currently upholding the shit. And so, what do we do? And I be asking this shit because it's like, damn, I be looking like, I genuinely would love to see Black leadership. I would love to be a part of a Black movement, but it's like, how do we come together? And even not even just Black, it's brown, it's minorities, it's class, it's poor, it's middle class. Like, things are getting so tight and constrained and so changed that it's like there is going to be a point of no return. And I think of what happened in Nepal, where in Nepal, they stood up against their current government and overthrew their government. They overthrew their government that was basically stealing from the people. And these were Gen Xers. So that's like college, high school. I'm not sure. I don't know. They're young. They're younger than me. But these were the youth that led that change. And what I loved about that Nepal overthrow was that, number one, anything they destroyed, when they, after their protests, all those people cleaned up their country the next day. They were on the streets cleaning up. When it came to, I remember there was a video I saw where there was a tourist bus that was driving by, and they literally stopped their protest and waved to protesters as they drove by, because they knew that was their economy. That was some shit. I was like, wow, this is very structured and very, very I don't want to say polite, but they understood the plot. And I look at that, and then I look at what happened on January 6th, right? And we had these people that were trying to overthrow, that were influenced to overthrow a legal election, a legal and just election, while we have a current election that was completely stolen. And we just sitting here watching. But I say all that to say, because it's like, we don't need to storm the Capitol, but we do need to figure out how we make the radical change that is needed for us to really have a future in this country. And again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I come from a family that was protesting and fighting during the civil rights. And I have said it before in the video, The Switch, y'all can watch. The civil rights movement was successful because it was structured. It was not just protests. There were cases that were brought on the state level, that were brought to the federal level, that was then appealed to the Supreme Court. That is how the civil rights movement progressed. They had a team of lawyers. It was Thurgood Marshall, and it was a lot of Black high power attorneys at that time that busted their ass off to make sure that they worked with the Black leaders of that time. And they worked together on those boycotts, the bus boycott. I saw a post today where someone was saying they still shopping at Target and keep seeing Black people in Target. Like, when it came to boycotting Hulu and ABC, everybody was like, well, what about Black shows? What about Abbott Elementary? Abbott Elementary is only still on ABC because white people like it. Abbott Elementary, and I love Abbott Elementary, okay? But make no mistake, they are one wrong episode away of getting canceled. Let them do one episode about social justice. That shit will be off the air and sued by Donald Trump the next day. So yeah, that's all I got. I don't know. Sometimes I'll be feeling like I need like a good closer, like a final thought, but there is no final thought on this shit. I think that we have a lot of work to do, and we have a lot of structured work to do. And when we have executive orders that are passed that makes our train of thought illegal, at some point you're forced to be a radicalized revolutionary. And at some point, we all gonna have to make that choice of what side of history do we want to be on. It's clear I chose my side. I'm gonna always use my platform to speak, and I'm gonna always work on building a bigger platform to speak out. So, yeah. With that being said, y'all, stay safe. I know it's not it doesn't have the same meaning, but stay woke, stay alert, and make sure y'all stay tuned for next Sunday's Be Fck'n For Real Sunday Sound Off. Unfiltered takes, unapologetic truths. I'm Miss Megaliana, and I'm gonna see y'all next time on Be Fck'n For Real.